So as far as I know, fracking's pretty much like drilling for oil, except you're drilling for gas, and it's over like a land-based area rather than.
But I feel like it's basically where you either shoot steam or water down to the ground to extract natural gas, and the gas comes up through the water um, to allow them to extract it, basically.
What I understand, it's when they kind of like drill into the ground to extract oil from under, I guess, the tectonic plates. Is that it?
Fracking is a method of injecting liquid at a high velocity into rocks and shale in order to force open existing fissures with the end goal of extracting oil or gas from them. The level of risk associated with fracking depends on how frequent the fracking is done in a single area and if the scientific report on fracking includes the entire industrial operation. In order to test for whether or not fracking has contaminated an area, a technique is used where chemicals are put down a drilling well to see if they turn up positive in the local drinking water. Another issue with fracking is how it requires large volumes of water and various chemicals in order to force open the existing fissures. But once the fissure opens, ponds or tanks are needed to store the chemically filled flowback water that comes back up the hole.
From what I know, if they're drilling down for gas, there'd be something to do with, like, and they use water and shit to drill. So, like, gas coming up through that water probably contaminate groundwater and probably leak out to the air and other things.
I can only assume that by putting water into the ground, that it's going to seep into groundwater. There's probably contamination with that.
I've heard that it's really, really bad for the earth. It also causes the earth to become more unstable for sinkholes.
Currently, there are little to no regulations placed on fracking companies as it is a relatively new method. Companies are allowed to conceal the names of chemicals and chemical mixtures used in the ground. Fracking companies are also excused from monitoring their emissions. No one is taking data on these emissions or monitoring potential environmental impacts from it. Numerous instances of groundwater and river contamination have been cited due to fracking. Overall, fracking will continue to produce harmful emissions that add to climate change without any regulation, as well as affect drinking water in its surrounding areas. The fracking companies will be forced to go deeper into the earth, which will require more chemically heavy water, creating greater risk of water impact as well as earthquakes. As the extraction gets deeper, earthquakes become more likely.
Not really too sure. You could put practices in place to try and reduce the effect of gas leakage or seepage in every.
I think renewable energy is good, like anything to do with solar or wind power.
They could probably extract using solar energy. They could either not extract oil or use something completely different. Like I know they have steam-operated cars now.
An alternative to fracking is the use of wind power as an energy source. Wind farming has become a rising alternative to fossil fuels. Wind power is the process by which wind is used to generate mechanical power or electricity. Wind is a free, renewable resource that can produce clean energy that doesn't pollute, as wind plants emit no air pollutants or greenhouse gases. Another alternative is the use of solar energy, which is clean and the most abundant renewable energy source. The main advantage is the reduction in emissions and zero air emissions or waste products during the operations. Another potential alternative is utilizing geothermal energy as a power source. Geothermal energy is created by the heat of the earth. It offers clean and sustainable energy.
Overall, if fracking is not stopped or at least regulated, it will continue to degrade our Earth due to its contribution to climate change. Fracking companies have yet to pay for any damages done to groundwater, and places within the United States still do not have access to clean water.